Hi, in this video I want to tell you about Samantha. Samantha had high hopes that something might change after she got an appointment with her biblical counselor at her church. She had hoped that her counselor would stand with her and be her advocate. And so she began to describe what was happening in her home. And as she did so, her counselor carefully listened to everything she told him. Samantha began to recount the names her husband called her when he got mad, or whenever she failed him. She described things like not allowing her to give her own perspective during an argument, not allowing her to call her mother or visit her sister in the hospital, not allowing her to leave a room when she was feeling scared, and demanding she submit to his most trivial demands. One example she gave him was that her husband demanded that she cooked him a full breakfast every morning, even though she worked full-time, as well as had a baby to get ready to take to the babysitter before she got to work. She told her counselor how her husband regularly lied to her, how he twisted the scriptures, how he bullied her and threatened her. Now, Samantha took a huge risk by sharing these things with her counselor at church. But she believed and hoped that if her counselor and her church leaders knew what was happening at home, surely they would get behind her and lovingly and firmly tell her husband, who was active in the ministry of their church, that his behavior was sinful and ungodly. She thought that once she got others to agree that his behavior was destructive, he'd be less likely to tell himself the lie that what he was doing wasn't all that bad. Sadly, the counselor became fixed on two words that Samantha used when she finished her story. She said to her counselor, "Please tell him to stop emotionally abusing me." Her counselor's first response to Samantha's story wasn't, "I'm so sorry this is happening to you," but this: "Samantha, let's not use the words emotional abuse. It's such a trendy term these days." Samantha's heart sank. It was hard for her to actually breathe. Her chest started pounding. Her head started spinning. Now what? She thought to herself, if what's happening to me isn't emotional abuse, what is it? You know, our culture is adept at watering down language so that it becomes vague, meaningless, so it doesn't offend anyone. For example, the phrase termination of pregnancy sounds a whole lot different than killing an unborn child. Termination of pregnancy lacks the emotional wallop of the truth. A real baby is being killed. Termination of pregnancy sounds nicer, and it whitewashes and sanitizes the true meaning of what's happening, both to the child and to the mother. When you and I refuse to recognize and name emotional abuse for what it is, and instead describe it as marital conflict or mutual sin, it's not that we're incorrect, it's that we're being imprecise. We're watering down what's really happening. For example, when a doctor tells a patient who has cancer, "You're sick," that's true. But if he doesn't use the C word because it's too potent, he's not telling his patient the whole truth. And as a result, the patient might not get the treatment he or she needs because they don't fully see the problem. As biblical counselors, your mission and mine is not only to be truth seekers, but to be truth tellers. Now, naming things in biblical times had special significance. Names represented a character trait, a special ability, a future expectation, or a proclamation of what happened in the past or what was going to happen in the future. Names are significant, and what you and I name things has meaning. And so when we say to our client, "Let's not call what's happening to you abuse," that's wrong, because what we're saying is what's happening to her is no big deal, and that's not true. Minimizing what's happening in her marriage damages her, and it damages her husband, as well as their marriage. Because abusive behavior is always bad, it's always sinful, and it's always destructive. The Bible repeatedly tells us that God comes alongside the victim. He's against those who seek to destroy and damage others. He never tells them it's not bad or to call it something other than what it truly is. You and I, we need to speak the truth about what's happening, without flattering abusers that their behavior is not as bad as their spouse claims it is. Let us be advocates for victims of abuse, even if it's emotional abuse, by calling it its proper name. Until next time, God bless.